comes on the boost, I'm going to back off. Good, just so you can feel it a bit. No! I didn't mean to do that.
That third gear?
I'm not going to flat out straight away. Oh, okay, that's silly. That's silly. This is the base map. No. He hasn't tweaked it yet. Guys, change your N54 turbos. You are wasting your time with those stock turbos. If you're modding an N54, change the turbos. Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode on the 17T N54. Now, on this episode, we're dialing in JSR Tuning's custom map for the full E85. So if you followed yesterday's video, I was running it in map 7 on the JB4. Now that targets 19.5 PSI peak and tapers down to about 17.5 PSI at the red line. And it's a good place to start to make sure that the car's gonna handle the map and the car's not doing anything strange before we start winding it up. Don't forget the end goal is high 20 PSI. Now, after I edited yesterday's video, I emailed that log off to JSR Tuning. Now that was quite late at night. It was about 8 p.m. Australian time. By the time I woke up this morning, I had an email from JSR saying he was happy with the log and we can feed some more boost in it to see what this base map's really going to do at the desired boost levels. And he's given me settings for the JB4 to target 25 PSI. So that's going to be pretty cool. And we're going to put that in and go for a drive soon. But before we go for the drive, let's have a look at the logs yesterday and show you guys at home things that you can look out for yourself and things that I check for issues before I'd even send the log to JSR. Because if I've got an issue that I know that I can take care of now, there's no point sending that to the tuner. So let's jump onto Data's app and I'll show you what that first log looked like yesterday. Okay, so hopefully you can see this all right. I've got the log up on my screen on Data's app. Now, this is the log, the first log, the one that I did in that video yesterday. Jesus, it comes on a boost so fast. And basically what I do when I look at any log, I'll check the basics. So the first thing I look at is that we are getting pretty close to boost target. So what we've got on the screen at the moment, the yellow line is the actual boost. Now this is what the JB4 sees, not what the DME sees. And then we can add to that boost target. And this grey line that goes up is the RPM. And you can see just at the top here, that's where I backed off. Actually, no, I didn't. That's where I shifted. And then I actually kept it wide open throttle. Actually, while we're talking about throttle position, I will bring up pedal right here. And actually, I should have just said this website that we're on right now is called Data's app. It's great if you're going to be looking at logs yourself and diagnosing things. It's what I've used the whole time. A lot of guys use the JB4 app to view logs. I've always just viewed them in Data's app. Anyway, the blue line there, you can see I am wide open throttle for that whole section. But we don't need to see that right now. We know we're wide open throttle in this area, so that's what we're going to work with. Now, the orange line you can see is boost target. So this is what the JB4 wants the boost to be. And although we've got some little variations above and below it as it's coming up through the rev range, it's fairly on target, and that will learn and get better. Don't forget, this was the second or third hard acceleration I did with these turbos and this base map. So the JB4 will keep learning wastegate adaptations and get it a little bit more on point, but that's fairly close and close enough that you probably wouldn't make much of a difference. You wouldn't notice any difference if it was any better. So it's fair to say that we're following boost target quite well, all the way up at 6,700 RPM. Boost was pretty much on target within a PSI, so that's good enough for what we want to do. So I can turn target off, but I will leave the boost there just as a reference. The next thing I'll look at is fuel pressure. Now, with the JB4, it monitors, well, actually, and MHD, you'll log both high pressure and low pressure, which is this one here. So both look pretty good. Now, we can see as we go along, hopefully you guys can follow along, but as we're at the low end of the rev range, we have high pressure is 14. On a JB4, that is, you basically times it by 150. So we're cooking, we're over 2,000 PSI there in the rail, and my low pressure is around 69. And as we come up through the rev range and wind the power on, we've now got full boost, so at 20 PSI boost, high pressure is still nice and safe at 15 and low pressure safe at 65. There's a general rule of thumb with a JB4 car, you don't want it to go under 10, that's 1,500 PSI, and you don't want your low pressure dropping below 60. So we can see all the way through the rev range, both of them stay above those important figures, and that's good. Now the only thing that is a little bit annoying which my car is bad for. I get this choppy section in the high end down here. You can see where it goes 12, 13, 12, 13, 12, 11, 13, 11, 13, 11. I really think that's an O2 issue, but it's smoothing out. Now those spikes used to be way worse. And again, we're staying in 11. We're at the high end of the RPM range. That's fine, that's safe. Once we know that the fuel system's doing what it should be and we've not got any dangerous levels with the fuel system, I'll go on and look at the ignition. And what we want to check out for here is any significant timing drops. And when I say significant, I mean like all cylinders dropping or a heavy drop. And on this acceleration here, so all these colored lines are the cylinders, and you can see as we wind the throttle on, we're targeting, well, we're getting 9 degrees of timing. That holds it through. Now we get a few little corrections here. We're talking 0.4 of a degree on a few cylinders. Again, nothing to worry about. And as we get into the mid-rev range, so around 5,000 RPM, now that's where this engine normally is making its peak torque. We've got a couple of little corrections, but again, one cylinder drops down to 1 degree. And again, this is the first pull. JSR did mention this, and he said there's a good chance that this will just adapt and clean itself up. Again, the more pulls you do, the engine will learn fuel trims, so on and so forth, and this will clean up, even without tweaking the map, but I'm sure he'll do some tweaking as well. Yeah, so timing's all pretty good. Now we do have a heavy timing drop on the shift. That is something that my car's really bad for. That's actually much better. And I did reference this in yesterday's video, the post-shift timing corrections. On a wide open throttle 3 to 4 shift on the BMS maps and the RFP map, nearly all the cylinders would go to the floor. So we're getting much better, it's holding much better, much more aggressive timing after the shift. And I backed off pretty quickly in 4th gear because it's quite fast. But yeah, that actually looks all fine. Timing's never going to be perfect on your first run. But if I had an issue where I had lots of cylinders dropping, I'd email JSR and say, hey, put the map on and I've got big timing issues. But you shouldn't have that. Before you contact a custom tuner, you want to make sure that the OTS maps are working pretty much perfectly. And these are the things that you can check in the OTS maps. The last thing we're just going to have a quick look at now, I never really played with trims much until I went to the port injection. But your fuel trims are basically how much the DME is adapting the fuel away from what the map is requesting. So the lower the number, it means the map on the car is slightly too rich, and the higher the number, we're too lean. So you do want to worry if your fuel trims are up at 50, your car is running lean, not good, stop driving it, work out what's going on. And if your fuel trims are at 0, you're running too rich, you probably won't blow it up, but you do have something you do need to sort out. Now we've got trims 1 and trims 2. Now those two numbers are bank 1 and bank 2. They have their own oxygen sensors that control them, or sensor data that's used to control them. And again, I think my O2 sensors are why I get this slight variation here. And I will look at AFRs again in a few seconds, but I generally don't check AFRs when I'm checking the logs quickly if I'm checking out on the road. But you can see here, when I'm off throttle, fuel trims are at 40, so the car is running nice and lean. That's normal when you're cruising on the highway and you're not actually opening the throttle. Actually, I'll bring the pedal position back in so you can see how quickly it comes down. So pedal position comes on, and this is where the power starts to wind on, and you can see that the DME is pouring the fuel in, and we're basically, trims are dropping down to 2, so it is too rich. We are on the limits of what the DME can do to meet the target air-fuel ratio. We're getting too much fuel at this point. It'll be interesting to see what it does once we've got another 5 PSI being wound in. I reckon that'll be all right. But that's just something else I look at. And what else do I want to have a quick look at? The air-fuel ratios. Now, really, the only thing you can check with it, I mean, you can obviously check if your car is running rich or lean, but the other thing to check is that they're moving together. And you can actually see, I said in the video yesterday I was concerned about how the air-fuel ratios were moving, but when we're actually on power, they move pretty much together. And we just follow along those two, the blue and the purple lines there. Hopefully you can see it all right. But you can see they're all pretty damn close, within a couple of points of each other, all the way right up to red line. So my concerns about what they were doing at idle is not too much of an issue when we're actually on the gas. So they're the things that I looked at before I actually sent the map to JSR. He's had a professional, proper look at it, but I couldn't see any issues with any of that stuff there. That's about what I was expecting. And yeah, I got an email back from him saying, let's wind it up to 25 PSI and see how it kicks. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go into the car and we'll set the JB4 duty cycle up for map 6, and that's going to give us a higher boost target. All right guys, so I got the car just idling away, and you can actually set these JB4 settings whilst the car's running. It doesn't cause any issues, and I just want to try and get it up to temp because it seems to take ages. So this is the email that come through from JSR last night, and yeah, he's basically said yes, all looks pretty good apart from that one cylinder post shift, but it should adapt out. Now these are the map 6 settings. If you're new to JB4, map 6 is the map that allows you to have custom boost levels. Map 1, 2, 5 and 7, they're all preset by BMS and you cannot adjust those boost levels. But when you're in map 6, which is what this is, the car will actually target these boost numbers here. Now these figures that are just here are from when I was on the stock turbos, and you can see we started off, actually I might put a screenshot in to make it a bit easier to see, but we started off at 15 PSI, 16, and then by 3000 we were targeting 20 PSI, and then we started tapering the boost off at 5500 because stock turbos will not boost at 20 PSI past that, and we tapered from 20 PSI down to 15 at 7000 RPM. And that's what I'm going to change right now to the JSR settings. I won't film doing that because it's a bit hard to do one-handed, but give me 2 seconds. So we've got those new values in there, and you can see we come up at, so 3,500 we're targeting 21, 4,000 22, 4,500 24 PSI, and then 25 PSI at 5,000 RPM all the way to red line. Now that's mega. That is going to be a hell of a lot of load on the engine. I'm still running stock diverter valves, so let's go and see what happens. In fact, I'll go get Dave. Dave needs to come along for this one. All right, see you in a sec. So you ready to go for a drive?
I'm ready.
I'm thinking we go to a super wide open space, and that way we won't have any scared faces.
Yeah. Have we got an airfield nearby? Or a desert? A salt lake?
It's like. I can't remember if I mentioned it before, but I did a couple more runs this morning on map 7, which is at 19.5 PSI. It's running pretty damn good.
Yep.
But this is map 6. We're going to be targeting 25 PSI at a peak.
Yes.
Something I have noticed this morning, remember when we first put the full 85 tune on with port injection?
Yep.
First gear become useless.
Yeah.
Second gear is now useless in this car. You cannot roll the throttle on in second gear.
It just goes straight through.
Straight to limiter.
Jesus Christ.
So for the logging, I'm not even going to try and accelerate in second. Not hard, but we're going to have to run boost limiting first, second and third, I think, which is crazy. So much power. Anyway guys, we're going to head out to where we're going to do these timed runs, and we'll see you shortly. So I'm just going to go a little bit further actually. So we've got a nice dead straight road, and I'm going to, as soon as it comes on the boost, I'm going to back off. Good, just so you can feel it a bit. No! I didn't mean to do that.
That third gear?
No, that was second.
Oh.
But literally, as soon as I felt it building boost, I backed off, and I reckon we went sideways for a second after that.
Ooh, that's absurd.
No warning lights though. That was higher than 20 PSI, I reckon.
That's what you want, man. Holy moly.
So we're third now, I'll just give it another little bit. Oh fuck, it is spinning. Okay. Well, we went to 24 PSI.
Just like that. Just like that. It's no longer a matter of, oh, is it going to break loose? I'm waiting for it to break loose.
What was nice about that spin? That was like the old times. That only did one wheel.
Was it?
Yep.
But previously when you used to do one wheel, you used to get this little...
I felt that little wobble.
You used to crap it, yeah. It used
but
to
it
feel
didn't kick
crap.
sideways. Where yesterday, and all those ones yesterday, when it spun up, it kicked sideways. That was just one wheel then.
That felt really, really fast though. I was waiting for it to start spinning both tyres, but it wasn't doing it. So it was going, you were getting faster and faster and faster. And I'm like, but it's still putting the power down. So I thought it might snap out, but later on.
It's crazy. These turbos made such a difference.
Yeah.
So we've got the same fuel system, the same spark plugs, the same coils. We're just running, we've now got more boost and different turbos. Oh, and different inlets. But aside from that, nothing else has changed.
That's a lot of different stuff, plus with the different tunes.
Well, turbos and inlets.
Yeah. I'm going to watch the boost gauge on the next one because it didn't feel like the boost was tapering off. As the RPMs were coming up, it just started pulling harder.
We'll screen record actually. Start recording. Boom, boom, boom. So we got a nice straight onto a 100 zone. I'm going to be gentle. Holy fuck. I backed off for the shift. I did not want to put the gearbox through that shift. That is pulling.
That almost starts to feel like when you're on the runway for a takeoff on a car, in a plane, you know what I mean?
That's what it felt like.
And,
just like,
and they load the plane up and it goes, and you start getting quicker and quicker and the front starts picking up. That's what this car was doing then.
Short of breath. I didn't want to shift because it felt like I was going to smash the gearbox to pieces. That's how much power it felt like it was putting through. Oh my God. We'll give it another little one on this other stretch. No warning lights though. Nothing's gone mental. We've held that 25 PSI okay. Ready for another one?
Ready as I'll ever be.
We've got clear roads. I'm not going to flat out straight away. Oh, okay, that's silly. That's silly.
I saw 26 PSI on the gauge.
I'd expect it to overboost a little bit because it's going to be targeting 25 and it'll push past 25 and then it'll go, okay, that's too much duty cycle. Wind it back a little bit. Bro, it did the front end picky uppy thing in 4th gear. That's over 100. And then it lifts the front up.
It feels really good on these big, nice bitumen roads that are really smooth and it's getting grip. It feels, it's not a wild ride, like it's not kicking out and everything, rolling it on slow like that, but it is tremendously fast.
It is, isn't it? That's what it would feel like, I'd imagine, roll racing on a track.
Yes.
It's going to put the power down pretty well at that speed. I'll get you to start logging once we're in 3rd. Okay, start logging. So this is the proper log. We're doing what we did yesterday. This flat out.
It used to run out of puff. It used to be really, really strong.
I'm so happy right now. It feels better. I was so worried that winding the boost up, it's going to struggle, it's not going to feel good, I'm going to get errors. This feels better.
It's just more.
The shift feels better. Did you feel the shift in 4th? It put the power on?
Yeah, I thought it was going to start to
probably start. Might do one more while we're in this outback area.
Do you want to log it again?
I will log it. We've got a bit of an uphill. It'll be interesting to see what that does to the load on the car.
Say when.
Hit that log.
Good.
Oh, it struggled a bit more with it uphill. Oh my God. Oh my God, it just feels perfect.
And those shifts are better than when it had less power. So whatever he's done to that tune, he's somehow...
Sorry, brakes.
Yeah. Oh, they got warm.
I got the brakes. I don't know if you guys have noticed, I'm trying to brake for a second and then back off, brake for a second, back off, and they get more. All right, so we've done the logs. That's probably enough filming of this. Guys, we'll see you back at the house and we'll summarize how that felt. What do you think?
Sick.
It's mega, isn't it? It's
Yep.
I've watched heaps of N54 videos. Every video I can find on the internet. Everyone that goes to a single, they wind the boost up 25 PSI and they start getting misfires. I was so ready for misfires, not hitting boost target. And magically, with my bodgy prep that I've done over the last 6 months, that's worked to 25 PSI. I'm looking forward to checking the log and seeing how close we are to boost targets. But dude, it felt better at 25 PSI than it felt at 20 PSI.
And not just, obviously not just faster, but it's still incredibly smooth and perfect, and those bloody shifts.
Yes, yeah, it's shifting better. There's something good in this map that my gearbox likes. That first time I rolled on in 3rd, I backed off on the shift because it feels like it's going to blow the gearbox to pieces.
But then later you grab 4th and it's just feeds some power straight back in and just keeps pulling.
I'm super, super impressed with it so far, guys. I'm going to do what I did yesterday. I'm going to smash this edit out as quick as I can, so hopefully we'll get it uploaded 6 or 7 o'clock tonight in the next hour or two. And I'll go through the logs after I've done the edits because me looking at logs can take half an hour. I'll email JSR and see what changes he wants to make and what his instructions are next. But yeah, essentially all we've done to this point is run his base map close to the intended PSI, and it's
mental.
Mega.
So he will, from here, probably wind the boost up a bit more, keep tweaking it.
Well, I'm happy to go with whatever he thinks these 17Ts are capable of. I always thought 26 to 30 PSI, 27 to 30 PSI.
Holy shit.
If the car will do it.
So there could be a fair bit more in her.
Yeah.
Dude.
What's going to break next? All right, guys, look, thank you very much for watching. Remember, Team N54, hashtag. Don't worry about the S62.
So after that, I'm not worried about the S62. There's no chance in a roll race. No chance.
You got me on noise.
Yeah, I still got you on noise, man.
And I reckon you'll get me out around a track.
Yep.
Anyway, look, guys, thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it all.
We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.